Over the last few weeks, I've really been piling on the ranking content, and this video is honestly no different. The area that this video does differ, however, is in the fact that it's actually not about the players in the NBA at all. Instead, in today's video, we will be covering the head coaches, and more specifically be ranking them in order from worst to best. This has been a heavily requested video from you guys down in the comments, and I'm interested in hearing your thoughts down below. Before we start though, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting at the bottom and working our way to the top, at number 30 we have Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies. I put the rookie head coaches at the bottom of this list because obviously they have no body of work to base their ability off of at the NBA level. At number 29, we have John Beilein of the Cleveland Cavaliers. As I said last time, the rookie head coaches go at the bottom, and Beilein is the other rookie head coach this season. I gave him a slight edge over Jenkins because of his success at the college level for years at Michigan, but obviously the NBA is a whole new challenge, so we'll see how he handles it. At number 28, we have Jim Boylen of the Chicago Bulls. Boylen's tenure as coach of the Bulls started very rocky, allegedly angering many of the players by instituting very aggressive coaching methods, including having them running intense practices filled with suicides and hardcore drills. By the end of the season, it did seem as though he earned the players' respect, but we'll see if these ways ever translate into wins. At number 27, we have James Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Borrego showed a willingness to let Kemba Walker take over games last season and not get in his way as a coach, but without much talent on the roster to coach last year, and even less this year, it's pretty tough to get an accurate gauge on how good of a coach he could truly be. At number 26, we have Ryan Saunders of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Saunders is the youngest head coach in the league at the moment, and fairly inexperienced. He took over last year when Tom Thibodeau got fired, and while the team looked pretty good at times last year, especially on offense, there just isn't enough data to determine how good of a coach he actually is. At number 25, we have Billy Donovan of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Out of every coach of a consistent playoff team over the past few years, Donovan is probably the worst one. He was reportedly one of the biggest reasons Kevin Durant originally left the team, and he tends to allow his star players to just take turns running the show instead of implementing an actually effective system. Because of that, the Thunder haven't been past the first round in 4 years, and Donovan comes in at the low end of this list. At number 24, we have Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns. Williams has coached the Pelicans to the playoffs in the past, and now will be facing a much tougher task in Phoenix. He's not the most accomplished by any means, but he did a good job developing Anthony Davis, and the hope is that he'll be able to do the same with Devin Booker, while trying to get the team out of the basement of the standings. At number 23, we have Luke Walton of the Sacramento Kings. Walton has always been known as a good players coach that gets along with the guys he coaches and develops good relations with them off the court. He has struggled with lineup rotations so far as a head coach though, and after being fired from the Lakers because of the pressure of coaching a team with LeBron James on it with high expectations, he'll get to settle in with a much younger core on the Kings. At number 22, we have Lloyd Pierce of the Atlanta Hawks. After just one season as coach of the team, I'm a very big fan of what Pierce is doing in Atlanta. The system he's implemented has done a fantastic job getting the most out of his players, and gives the young guys freedom to grow and learn, especially with Trae Young. At number 21, we have Frank Vogel of the Los Angeles Lakers. Vogel had success as a coach in his Pacers days back in the day, but then his days on the Magic as a coach didn't go quite as well, so he's a bit of a mixed bag. He's got a lot on his plate now in LA with championship expectations, so we'll see if he can put it together and create proper game plans that will get the most out of the talent the roster has. At number 20, we have Scott Brooks of the Washington Wizards. Brooks' best days as a coach came back in his Thunder days when he was running the show of teams that consistently made deep playoff runs in the West. His time with the Wizards, though, has been much different, and now, especially with John Wall being injured and the rest of the roster outside of Brad Beal being fairly weak, he's going to be in for more of a difficult season this year. At number 19, we have David Fizdale of the New York Knicks. Fizdale did a very good job in his short time as Grizzlies coach, and I strongly disagreed with their decision to fire him when they did. Now in control of the Knicks, he hasn't had much to work with, and that won't necessarily change this year, but long term, I think he's capable of leading good teams pretty far. At number 18, we have Alvin Gentry of the New Orleans Pelicans. Gentry has done a decent job as head coach of the Pelicans, and with a fully healthy team 2 years ago, his Pelicans performed very well in the playoffs before getting eliminated by the Warriors. He's now in charge of grooming a team full of young potential stars, including Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo Ball, and moving forward, the Pelicans have a bright future ahead. At number 17, we have Steve Clifford of the Orlando Magic. Nobody really expected the Magic to be a playoff team last year, but Clifford was excellent coaching all year and helped maximize the talent they had in order to make an appearance in the playoffs. At number 16, we have Kenny Atkinson of the Brooklyn Nets. Atkinson is a very promising young coach that has established a winning culture on a team that was once pegged as doomed by the NBA world. Depending on how much he accomplishes moving forward, he could shoot up this list later on, but he needs to achieve that success first. At number 15, we have Brett Brown of the Philadelphia 76ers. Brown has been in charge since the beginning of the process, and now with actual talent on the roster, has led the team to 2 straight 50-plus win seasons. This season could be big for Brown if the Sixers make that next step into championship contention, but for now, he's a decent middle-of-the-pack coach. At number 14, we have Nate McMillan of the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers may not have necessarily had top-tier talent over the last few years, but McMillan's system used each player to their best, and the team very much overachieved, especially in the time Victor Oladipo was out with injuries, and a lot of that is due to McMillan. At number 13, we have Dwane Casey of the Detroit Pistons. Casey won the Coach of the Year award 2 years ago, but was never able to get the old Raptors teams over the hump against LeBron James. That failure is definitely not all his fault though, and he's for sure an above-average coach, which is why he comes in at number 13. At number 12, we have Mike Malone of the Denver Nuggets. Malone has done a terrific job in charge of the Nuggets so far, and he fully trusts his star Nikola Jokic to run the offense how he wants it, and as a result, they typically have top offenses year in and year out. He's very close to be cracking the top 10 of this list, to be honest, but he needs more on his resume to do so. At number 11, we have Terry Stotts of the Portland Trail Blazers. Every year the Blazers seem to be counted out, and every year they solidify themselves firmly as a playoff team because of Stotts' trust in Dame and CJ and his implementation of the role players around them. Now, starting off the top 10, we have Quin Snyder of the Utah Jazz. Snyder is another head coach that has done a very good job maximizing the limited talent on the roster and translating it into elite defense and 50 wins. This season, the Jazz are sleepers to make some major noise with all of their new additions, and I trust Snyder will do a good job putting all the pieces together. At number 9, we have Rick Carlisle of the Dallas Mavericks. Carlisle has been the coach of the Mavs since 2008, and his most impressive feat in that span was leading the Dallas Mavericks to winning the 2011 finals. He's a terrific coach that tends to rely heavily on veterans, but with a new crop of young talent taking over the Mavs, he's going to have to adjust his mindset moving forward. At number 8, we have Brad Stevens of the Boston Celtics. The NBA world was ready to anoint Stevens as the next elite head coach in the league, but then things came crashing down hard last year. With all of the talent the team had and lofty expectations before the year started, he just never got it to work. But he's still a terrific head coach, don't get me wrong, but the level of praise he got before was definitely very premature. At number 7, we have Mike D'Antoni of the Houston Rockets. D'Antoni's system is highly controversial, but the fact of the matter is that he's helped unlock James Harden's true potential, and over the last 2 years, his teams have given the world-beating Golden State Warriors more problems than anyone else. He's still missing that elusive championship ring he's been chasing, but he's a great coach nonetheless. At number 6, we have Mike Budenholzer of the Milwaukee Bucks. Coach Bud proved to be a very high-level coach when he led the 2015 Atlanta Hawks to 60 wins with a roster led by Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver, Paul Millsap, and Al Horford. Then last year, he once again coached a team to 60 wins and has seemingly unleashed Giannis to his full potential. Now, starting off the top 5, we have Nick Nurse of the Toronto Raptors. Winning the finals this year was definitely a massive boost to Nurse's resume, and perhaps putting him this high is a bit premature, but being a champion means you're among the best. Starting off the top 4 now, we have Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors. Kerr most notably took over for Mark Jackson and immediately turned this team into a contender, and since then has won 3 rings. With rosters that have been historically great though, it leaves you wondering just how difficult his job really was. Results speak for themselves, and he definitely deserves to be near the top of this list, but the reason he's not at the top, or even top 3 for me, is that I believe quite a few coaches could have also accomplished just as much with the teams he's been coaching. At number 3, we have Erik Spoelstra of the Miami Heat. Coach Spo barely got any credit during his time coaching the Big Three Heat teams with LeBron, Bosh, and Wade. Since that time though, he's showed that he was a very integral part of that run and has continued to be a phenomenal coach with barely any star power on his teams. His defensive philosophies translate onto the court, and despite mediocre talent on the roster recently, he's always found ways to keep the teams in the playoff hunt instead of opting to tank. At number 2, we have Doc Rivers of the Los Angeles Clippers. Doc's tenure as the Celtics head coach was top-notch, capped off with a ring, and while his time with the Clippers has had its ups and downs, through it all he's still a top-tier coach. The Lob City era may have ended in disappointment, but that was mostly due to the amount of injuries suffered by Blake Griffin and Chris Paul during that stretch. Last year was one of the best coaching performances from Doc Rivers yet, getting a team led by 2 sixth men and a bunch of role players to push the Warriors to 6 games in the playoffs, and now with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in town, they may be the favorites to win the title. Finally, at number 1, we have Gregg Popovich of the San Antonio Spurs. This one really needs no explanation, as Pop is possibly the best coach the game has ever seen. He's got 5 rings, he turns nobodies into capable contributors, and he gets his players to buy into what he needs them to do. Absolutely elite in this regard, and without question, the number 1 coach in the NBA. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more NBA content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.